Friends, we are about ready to begin services. If I could ask everyone to please take a seat. If you have a cell phone or similar device, if I could ask you to quiet that now.
The interment for our beloved Carla will take place immediately following this service at the Congregation B'nai Israel Memorial Park on Woody Road. Friends and family can call upon the family at 49 Woodridge Avenue in Toms River from 5 o'clock p.m. to 10 o'clock p.m. today, with a Shiva Minyan at that location at 8:15 p.m. this evening. From Thursday morning until Tuesday morning, Shiva will be observed at the home of Amanda and Judah Schachter at 4 Linda Road, East Brunswick, New Jersey, with Shiva Minyanim at the following times: Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday mornings at 7:30 a.m., Thursday, Sunday, and Monday evenings at 8:15 p.m. The family requests no visitors from 12 to 2 o'clock p.m. in East Brunswick and from 5 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. or after 9:30 starting Thursday. It is with heavy hearts that we gather today to bid farewell to our precious Carla. Our hearts go out to Stan, Mandy and Judah, Leslie and Zev and Todd, to Carla's sisters and brother-in-law Amy and Will and Judy, her nieces and nephews Dan and Melissa, Brett, Yael and Howie, Jonathan and Yolanda, Tim and Christian, and Tammy and Lee. Carla's grandchildren whom she cherished and adored: Chana and Stephen, Moshe and Chava, Nussin and Jeremy, Chava and Nussin, Jeremy and Orly, Zissel and Yoni, Michal, Charna and Sadok, Talia, Liam, Daphne and Peter, and her great-grandchildren who gave her such nachas: Yechiel, Devorah, Shlomo, and Yehuda, and her dear friend Shelley Linworth, who was like a sister to Carla, and the legions of close friends who Carla considered to be family. Whether you called her Carla, or as her family did and many others called her Nana, she captured your heart. Vivacious and vibrant, strong-willed, and incredibly loving and warm and inclusive. Her generosity of spirit knew no boundaries, and she made an indelible impact on the lives of so many people. I shared just a few brief comments from Facebook. The world has lost an amazing soul today. Another: I'm deeply heartbroken over the loss of our Nana Carla. I say our Nana not because she was, in fact, my grandmother, but because she treated everyone as if she was. And finally, Carla was my first real friend in Toms River, mentor and role model in my early teaching career. She believed in me when I didn't, no matter how she was feeling. I'm so grateful that she was in my life. There are a myriad of posts like these. As for me, I first met Carla when I arrived at B'nai Israel, and to my surprise and delight, it didn't take long to realize that Stan, Mr. Friedman, was our science teacher in high school. So there was an immediate personal connection. But Carla did most of the talking, and I was taken by her deep passion for Israel, her love for and devotion to this shul, and her very high standards for rabbis. It was many months later that she came up to me after I gave a talk after Pittsburgh and Poway in a filled sanctuary for the community. And she said, "Rabbi, I have to tell you something." And my stomach kind of seized up. And she said, "I want you to know that you moved me tonight, and tonight you became my rabbi." I was so touched. And in many ways, she became my Carla. And as the years went by and her struggles increased, I learned about a woman who embodied in the deepest ways the meaning of Eshet Chayil, which not only can mean a woman of valor or virtue, which she was, but also a woman of courage, a woman of strength. I learned of Carla and Stan's beautiful love story, and of her unconditional love and support for her children that knew no limits. I was moved by her relentless defense and support for Israel. And of course, her concern for her grandchildren serving in Miluim in the army. And after October 7th, we would text each other or talk to each other on the phone every few days to keep in touch. She gave me more chizuk, more strength than I could ever give her. I learned about an educator who advocated zealously for her students, never accepting the limitations that educational evaluations placed on them. She literally transformed lives, embodying the teaching of Rabbi Yonatan, "Kol ha'melamed ben chaverot Torah, maleh alav hakatuv ke'ilu yodo." One who teaches Torah to another person's child, it is accorded to him or her as though they have given birth to that child. So many souls were inspired and touched by Carla. And finally, in this place, in this sanctuary, in this shul, in this Kehillah Kadosha, sacred community that she labored to help create and nurture, she will forever be remembered as a pillar of our B'nai Israel family, a constant inspiration to all of us who had the privilege of being touched by her embrace, graced by her kindness, and inspired by her beautiful neshama. Tehei Zichronah Livracha, may her memory be for a blessing. Let us say, Amen. And now, the 23rd Psalm.
מזמור לדוד, אדוני רואי, לא אחסור. בינות דשא ירביצני, על מי מנוחות ינהלני. נפשי שובב, ינחני ומגל צדק למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגץ על מוות לא יררה, אתה עמדי. שבטך ונשנתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צוררי. ישנת בשמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים.
Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He has me lie down in the green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He guides me in paths of righteousness. He revives my soul for the sake of his glory. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod do comfort me. You set a table in sight of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall abide in the house of the Lord forever. It's my privilege to call forward Rabbi Sarah Horowitz, president and co-founder of Yeshivat Mahalat, to offer teaching and words.
when I was asked to read a psalm, a section of Tehillim, I also thought at first that maybe I would read Eshet Chayil, because that is the imagery that comes to mind, a woman of valor who offered so much. But then I thought of the other psalm that is often read at the beginning of a funeral service, and it begins with the words, Ashrei Ha'ish, or in this case, Ashrei Ha'isha, happy. Happy is the person. And I'm going to read it, but the image that I have is of Carla, who was everybody's cheerleader. She was somebody who exuded not only kindness, but joy. The psalm talks about a tree that grows by the streams of water and produces fruit. And it was in her capacity as a cheerleader with joy that she was everybody's caregiver, just like a tree offering shade and fruit. She always noticed and looked not only to her friends, but the way I saw her, to her family, to her grandchildren, always noticing and wondering where they were, what they needed, offering them the love and shade that they needed. And it makes sense that her family was there for her at the end, because just as she gave and gave, they too, in turn, with so much love and kindness and joy in the end, gave her the peaceful passing that was before her time, but also that she deserved. Thinking about that smile and her face as we read Tehillim Aleph, Ashrei Ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzat rishayim u'b'derech hata'im lo amad u'b'moshav litzim lo yashav ki im b'torat Adonai chefso b'torato yihigeh yomam v'layla v'haya ke'et shatul al palgei mayim asher piryo yitain bi'ito v'alehu lo yibol v'chol asher ya'aseh yatziliach lo chen harishayim ki im kamotz asher tidvenu ruach al ken lo yikumu rishayim b'mishpat v'chatayim ba'adat tzadikim ki yodea Adonai derech tzadikim b'derech shayim ta'avayed. Happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of scornful. Rather, the one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in God's Torah day and night, and will be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields its fruit in season, whose leaf will not wither, and whatever that one does prospers. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners in the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked is doomed.
Now I'm going to call forward members of the family who will be sharing thoughts and words and memories. First, the grandchildren, Hannah, Jeremy, and Michael. Schechter to come forward on the bima.
Thank you all so much for being here. These past few years and months in particular have been really difficult. As we've watched our Nana battle multiple rounds of a truly terrible disease. We all know our Nana as the young, very hip grandmother who loves posting on Facebook and texting her friends, so much so that she even got carpal tunnel at one point. We made a lot of fun of her for that. Uh, Seeing her as not that version of herself was really tough and has been the hardest thing for me to reconcile. I have, thank God, been fortunate to have lived these past 30 years of my life with all 4 of my grandparents living. I often comment how incredible it was to have all 4 of them at my wedding almost 5 years ago, and up until a few days ago, I was still marveling at the fact that they were all still here with me. Growing up with very present, very active grandparents was a complete gift, but it also gave me the impression that they would simply live forever. Now that I've lost one, it's one of the toughest things I've had to process. I was blessed to be my Nana's first grandchild. And she would always talk about that fact with such pride and amazement, as if every time she thought about the day I was born, she was reliving it. She'd tell me about how she drove into Manhattan during a snowstorm just to see me and drove us home from the hospital, and how she'd come in every week after she was done teaching to spend time with me. Over the years, all of us grandchildren would annoyingly ask Nana which one of us was her favorite, and of course she would never pick one, but she would always look at me and say, "But you made me a grandmother." I feel so fortunate to have that privilege. I had a unique opportunity in recent years to relive my sleepover at Nana and Papa's era. When I was doing my midwifery training, I was actually assigned to train in a practice that delivered at Community Medical Center, which, as some of you know, is around the corner from their house. When I had to work late nights, which was often, I would sleep over at their house. They were so excited to have me, even though I was sleep deprived by the time I got home. They welcomed me and took care of me like it was the most important thing they could do. Papa even put little chocolates on my pillow like I was staying in a hotel. I'm so grateful to have had that time with both of them. When you're a kid, you have a certain perception of your grandparents and they fit a specific model in your head. But as an adult and as a married adult, I had a different appreciation for them, and I got to witness their deep love for each other and appreciate their marriage in a whole new light, as partners and as soulmates. Our Nana loved being a grandmother. She and Papa bought a minivan before any of our parents did so that they could load us all up into their car and take us to Six Flags and Blue Claws games every summer. And of course, because she was a Nana par excellence, she also potty trained all of us. I still have the baby blanket she made me when I was born. She picked out material for each grandchild and sewed us special blankets. I wore mine out so much that when I was in college, I actually asked her to make me a new one with the same exact fabric, which of course she did eagerly. And I will admit, no shame, I still sleep with that baby blanket every night, and it brings me a deep sense of comfort. I would be remiss if I did not mention that as we stand up here today, we represent all of Nana's other grandchildren, both those who are here and those who are not here. Michal and Jeremy, Orly, my husband Stephen, Chava, Nassin, Moshe, Zisel, Yoni, Charna, Tzadok, Talia, Liam, Daphne, Peter, and her great-grandchildren, Yechiel, Dvorah, Shlomo, and Yehuda. Nana's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren were her pride and joy. She gave her love to us so freely and took so much pride in everything we did, big or small. She had a way of making us feel like every single thing in our lives was important. Even her later edition grandchildren, aka the ones who married in, were so treasured, and she invested in relationships with each one of them, even the ones far away in Israel. She became a Cowboys fan because my husband is a Cowboys fan, and every Sunday when they played, she'd text me and Steven saying, "I'm rooting for the Cowboys," in a picture of her t-shirt, her Cowboys t-shirt. This overflowing love extended beyond family. She befriended every single one of her nurses over the years, of course, after telling them that 2 of her granddaughters were also nurses. She'd text with them about their shared love of Grey's Anatomy, and would bring them baked goods to appreciate all their hard work in taking such good care of her. She even gifted her sewing machine to one of them. She bonded with people, and she bonded people. Our family has always been extremely close. Our family is also diverse, coming from different religious backgrounds, living all over the world, and being various ages. It is because of Nana, who prioritized family above all else, that we have the close family bond that we do. She was and will always be the glue that holds us together. During COVID, Nana started the tradition of weekly family Zooms. No matter what children or grandchildren could join that week, Nana and Papa were always present, eager to hear the latest updates from their family. I will miss her presence in every way. Nana, thank you for being you, and for being the best matriarch our family could ever have. We will miss you tremendously. How do you start a eulogy for someone as great as Nana? Our Nana was nothing short of magic. She was so beautiful, a beam of light that would make everyone around her glow. She was so strong and energetic that it seemed impossible for her light to ever be extinguished. The truth is, she and I both know that her light will never really be extinguished because she lives on in each of her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. She is in each of us because she helped to shape us into who we are, and we each carry a piece of her within us. Among the many lessons that Nana taught us, the one that will forever be etched into us is the importance of family. Nana loved each of us unconditionally and unwaveringly. She always put family first, and she taught us that family comes above all. She was at every graduation, sports game, play, dance recital, wedding, school concert, birthday. She always showed up. She was always there for us when we needed her, even if it meant taking us to doctor's appointments, such as when yours truly needed to get a strep test, something I completely dread. And she knew going in that I was not going to be pleasant, but she stayed with me the entire time and held my hand. It's hard to imagine a life without her because she was so present in ours. How lucky we are to have had a Nana so perfect. I know nobody is perfect, but Nana was. At least to me, she was. Another thing she taught us is the beauty of friendship. I swear, Nana had so many friends, it was hard to keep track of them. She talked about them all the time. It was as if we had 100 fake aunts and uncles. She loved them so much, and I want to take this moment to thank all of her friends for loving her as much as you did, and for bringing so much joy and laughter into her life. When I turned 10, Nana got me a purple Snoopy card. I like to save my birthday cards, and boy, am I happy that I did, because the next year, she unknowingly got me the exact same card. I didn't say anything at the time, mostly because I didn't even realize, until the next year came, and so did the same Snoopy card. At this point, I had to say something to Nana. Surely this had to be on purpose. However, it turned out to be a complete coincidence. She seriously couldn't believe her eyes when I left the room and reappeared with all 3 cards as proof. She had bought me the same birthday card 3 years in a row without any idea. We could not stop laughing about it. Every year since then, Nana would purposely get me a Snoopy card to maintain our tradition. If I close my eyes, I can picture Nana standing in the kitchen, flipping chocolate chip pancakes, the smell wafting into the TV room where her grandchildren sat in anticipation. I see her at the shore with her toes buried in the sand, a place she loved. I see her teaching me how to play mahjong and then stunning her when I beat her. I see her at the Thanksgiving dinner table, glowing over having her family surrounding her, eating her delicious sweet and sour meatballs and her grandmother's matzo balls. I see her face lighting up when she discovers a new bird's nest in her flower pots, and then carefully looking over the eggs until they hatch. I see her sitting at her sewing machine, fixing whatever item of clothing we ripped that week. I see the emotion in her eyes as she sees the coattail for the first time. These are all small moments that embody her, but the truth is that it is impossible to put into words how grand Nana truly was. For one cannot put into words the person our grandmother fully was. The closest word I can think of is everything. She means everything to her grandchildren, and she always will. We can only hope to be half the grandparent she was one day. It brings me comfort to know that she is in heaven, reunited with her mother, who, from what I heard from my mother, was also an incredible woman. Nana, I know you are looking over me and will continue to guide me in this life. Thank you for being you and for being our Nana. We are the luckiest children in the world.
While it would be worth repeating everything that Chana and Michal said, and Nana certainly deserves it all being repeated, I want to focus on one important aspect of Nana's character that sometimes goes a bit under the radar, but has had a really large impact on me and is something I hope we can all make part of our own lives. And that is that Nana accepted everyone, and she never judged. She didn't care what you looked like, what you did for a living, or where you came from. Just the fact that you were a fellow human being was enough to receive Nana's love. She took it one step further, as Rabbi Sarowitz alluded to earlier. She supported everyone in their endeavors with no pretenses. Anything her friends and family were doing in life, she was their biggest cheerleader. I think our human default is to judge and be skeptical. I think it's how we're hardwired, but not Nana. She was wired differently, and we should all strive to emulate her because she made the world a better place. And the last thing I want to say, just on behalf of the grandkids, is that Chana mentioned that we would always fight over who was Nana's favorite, and I think we all had a claim to that because she always made us feel like we were her favorite, and I'll always be thankful for that.
Now I'm going to call forward Carla's dear friend, Shelley Linworth, to offer some reflections.
Hi. So nice to see all your faces, so many people I've known for years and years. So I'm standing here on the bima today to share our friend Carla with you. I feel this is all for all the women here today who feel, and rightly so, that Carla was our bestie. If I ask the women here today and say Carla, was one of their best friends, there will be a giant group of us standing. Each of our friendships were different, and many private moments would be thought about. It's the little things that make a friendship. Sharing tuna fish sandwiches, or grilled cheese was our top choice. Colossals from the health store were just right on the beach. Planning small trips to our favorite Calgo with Mark and Penny. Walking in Island Heights. Our Mondays with Mahjong we never wanted to miss. I can hear the laughter of Lynn, Barbara, Phyllis, Carla, and me when one of us, who knows who, made a mistake or two, and she also loved to win. Carla, when my children were very little, she put their jammies in the dryer so that if they were ill, they would feel better. It's a pretty nice thing to do. And every year on Randy's birthday, we get a high gift. Each of the girls here today have the same kind of memories with Carla. Aren't we lucky? Her children and grandchildren were the best part of her life. Again, how lucky they were all to share life together. And Stan, your devotion to your wife was the most beautiful times I have witnessed in my days. She said every day how lucky she was to have Stan. It was all the little things that he did for her that were so loving. It always seems to be the little things that matter so much in our days. Please grab your moments with those you adore in memory of our Carla. May each one of you have a Carla in your life.
Thank you, Shelley. Now I'd like to call forward Todd, who will speak on behalf of siblings and the family.
This part's not written, but being up on this bema right now with Cantor Green and Rabbi Hammerman and some people in this room is like, this is your life, you're living your childhood, and it looks the exact same as it did 50 years ago. I was born into this shul. My parents joined in '68, and I was born in 1969, so thank you all for coming. I'm speaking on behalf of my sisters, my father. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the kind, generous, thoughtful words you've written here on Facebook and texts and on our tribute page. We've read them all. I know I've reread many of them. It doesn't ever cease to amaze me how far and wide my mother's reach was. I say this sincerely, I don't know most of the people who are writing these things about my mother. It just goes to show that how she's touched so many lives of people that we never met, that we don't know about. And even people who write things that are glancing friendships from years ago, and she made an impact on their lives. And so I'm in awe of how profound her impact was on this community of Carla, of my mom. I've been trying to find the words to describe her in a way that would describe her essence. And to my nieces, you're going to hear some things you just said that I wrote myself, and so I think you read my script ahead of time. There's no one story. There's no magical story about my mother. There's no we went camping and I got lost and she saved me, and it doesn't exist. There's none of that with my mom. Well, she hated camping. So did my dad. So we never camped. We were motel people, and so we could tell you stories for days and days about my mother, and if we see you at the houses, I'm sure we'll share those. But there's really no word to describe my mother other than she was magical. There's just no story. What there was for 60 years and what there is today will carry on, is my mom and my father. Married for 60 years, and my sisters. Grandkids, I'll get to you in a minute. Just sit tight. You had your time. I know a memorial is supposed to be about one person. I don't know how I can talk about my mother and not also talk about my father. When I think about my parents, they're a single unit, right? It's always been that way. There wasn't a good cop and a bad cop, or a strict one and a good one. There was just this team always, the two of them. And when I get to know people, I like to know their origin stories, like where'd you come from? Like, how'd you get to be the way that you are? I mean that in a good way. And with my mom, it always comes back to this 5-person unit that we were growing up, and really just the two of them. My niece said this, someone looking from the outside in, my sisters and I are very different people. We live in very different places. We've chosen different paths in our lives, but you'd be hard-pressed to find 3 siblings who are closer than we are. And our kids are closer. When some people new come into a family, there's sometimes this breaking in period. It doesn't exist for us. Like when you come, it's like, oh, you're so-and-so's spouse. Congrats. Well, here you go. Hugs. Get used to it. You're gonna see a lot of us. It's just the way that my mother taught us to accept people immediately and love people immediately. the bond that they forged in us was the root of everything that came after that. They taught us to love each other even when we didn't like each other. Our friends became part of the family because of the way my mother treated people. That's why so many, if you read the Facebook posts, they're calling her mom and Aunt Carla and so on. We have so many cousins, both real and fake, who live near and far. And they felt like our siblings to us. And we knew their friends, right, and their families. And my mother would tell us stories about people that you have to do the math in your head of like, where did this person come from? I can't tell you the number of fake aunts and uncles that I have. And most of them I didn't realize they were fake. It was very later. I was like, I have a whole family tree of fake cousins. It just grows and grows and grows. It's just the way that she was. Our children, the 11 children that we had between the three of us, that of course grew the family, and then their friends and their spouses and their parents. They all knew my mother. They all knew her, and didn't just know of her. They knew her intimately. They knew that, and she knew them, and she remembered their names. I'm going to share a funny. I wasn't going to tell a story. I'll share one funny story, maybe a couple if I can't stop myself. But when she was at Jersey Shore being treated, there's an organization that would bring food on Fridays for Shabbos, and it turned out that this woman who came by was the cousin of Jeremy's spouse, Orly. So of course, there's some guy, and of course Orly's uncle was my camp counselor, and we knew their whole family. They all knew my mom beforehand. So there's just, I was joking before, Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon, he's got nothing. My mom, it's like I'll name it 4 notes. I can find 3 people and I'll get to my mom somehow. I could do the same thing for all my mom's friends. I don't want to ignore all the friends that she has, the colleagues, people that wrote notes on Facebook from Dumont 60 years ago and 70 years ago. Students. I remember a student one time, we were just having lunch at a restaurant, and this kid came over and was like, "Oh my God, you're Miss Friedman. You changed my life." And the number of students, the way that my mother cared about the children she worked with and would just not accept a system passing them through, but she knew them and their parents. I became rude sometimes to our own kids' parents, where I'd say, my mother's a teacher. She would have called me about that. There was just this example that she set and the way she cared about people. She had friendships through her life that multiplied and multiplied and multiplied. And none of this exists. None of this exists without 2 people who share the same belief system, who share the same values, who trust each other implicitly, who have each other's backs fully, completely, without reservation. My mom was the brightest light. She just shined this warmth, this selflessness, this kindness on everyone she met. We would dance. I remember growing up, she just played music and we'd dance in the house, and she'd show me how they danced in the 50s and 60s and teach me those dances. We'd go to bar mitzvahs and we'd do those dances, and this music that she'd play. And the other day when Mandy called me and said that she had passed, and I was coming back from taking my daughter to orientation, so I didn't have a lot of time to pack, and I thought, I'm going to put one of Mom's records on. And so I put on first the Peter, Paul, and Mary album. That was a mistake. I was playing Marvelous Toy, which she loved, and which my cousin Mel used to play on the guitar, and so I didn't get much packing done, so I put on Carole King Tapestry, and that was a mistake, and so I think I put on a Happy Paul Simon album and just kept packing, but she just shone. She just had this brightness. You would talk to her and she would light up, and it wasn't fake. She cared about what you said to her, and I try in my life to emulate that when we meet people, that we pay attention to what they're saying. And Dad, I'm sorry to turn the spotlight on you, but Mom was this light, but you were always the fuel that kept that flame alight. And I just told me these past years when you were her caregiver, and that was your job, and you're the best. You're really built for it, and you're the best at it. But for 60 years, you were her rock. You were her support, her partner. Mom's special qualities helped you be the best father in the world, but it would be completely ignoring reality to recognize that Mom was the Nana she was, the mom she was because of you. And we all of us, just hope to grow up to be you. So I want to talk to the grandchildren just for a second, so sorry, you'll have to just listen to this. You're truly the light of Nana's life. Mom loved Aunt Mandy, Aunt Leslie, most of all me. We thought who was her favorite, we know. So, but I'm going to admit, like, I was jealous. There's a part of me which is, she was our parent. Like, you know this, like the way that our parent we are to you, you're our children, we're going to say things. And so when you say that she took a sewing machine and mended things, I'm not going to go down that path right now, but that hit a little hard. But she truly loved you unconditionally. We would tell her you did anything. That's amazing. She's so amazing. He's so amazing. Like, I don't think that was amazing, Mom, but okay. You do you. You're blessed. You are blessed. Nana made each of you feel like the favorite grandchild because you were the favorite grandchild, each and every one of you. It wasn't that she had a pick. It wasn't just that you were the favorite youngest, you were the favorite this or that, which is what she'd tell you. You're my favorite 17-year-old. And she'd remember, oh, I have two 17-year-olds. You're my favorite 17-year-old who's in New Jersey right now. But if you look around this room, like, this is the love that Nana also showed you. The friends that are here, she shared that with everybody. Read all the comments on Facebook. She made everyone she touched feel important, but you get this extra bonus. Right? You get this extra bonus. Her spirit, her soul, her legacy, it lives inside of you. Right? Her legacy is your love. You should take a moment to look around the room and feel it and understand it, right? Because the people here knew her. And it always felt like Nana was doing 1,000 things at once. And yet she was always present. She noticed the detail. She remembered names. She remembered places. She remembered things that we could never think to remember. And it's because she felt the world around her and inside her, and she tried every single day to make it just a little happier for whoever she was talking to. So, for everyone here, thank you so much for coming. I'm laughing because as always, do you think we're going to have to open the doors? Is it going to be that many people? And so it's like a high holiday service here. It's amazing. We should all be so blessed to feel this much love. Our family is truly blessed by your love, by your kindness. I'd ask all of you to honor my mother's life and her memory by trying to spread some of that love and kindness today and in your life. Your mom. Thank you. You've given us more gifts than we could ever hope to have, Dad. We're truly blessed that this is our family. People ask us all the time, what was it like growing up? And I just say it was just the happiest time. I love you.
Devarim min halev, yotzim lalev, words from the heart, and to the heart. We heard such heartfelt and beautiful words, and now it's my privilege to call forward our Rabbi Emeritus, Rabbi Richard Hammerman.
Carla made me promise that I would be present for her funeral. It's a promise I didn't want to keep. And I think each of us felt that request of Carla's, that we should be with her during joyous times and during sad times, and be together as friends, as family, and as community for each other, because that's what's most important, and that's what's most crucial. I was trying to figure out what made Carla so special. How did it happen? And then I remembered back to her mother of blessed memory, Janet Zuckerman. And at her mother's funeral at the West End Synagogue in Manhattan, there was a wonderful explication of the tribute from the book of Mishlei, from Proverbs, which Rabbi Hurwitz referenced earlier, the Eshet Chayil. And that explication, that new translation of the Eshet Chayil was recited at Janet Zuckerman's funeral. And I'd like to share it with you, because I think it tells us something about how Carla became Carla. What a rare find as a valiant woman. Her worth is far beyond what can be measured in material things. With her husband, a union of trust exists. To each other, they are everything. All the days of their life together, they evoke the best in each other. In all her endeavors, she is like a lighthouse, bringing light and guidance to all who pass by. From first light of day to darkest night, she seeks to supply the needs of her family and her community. She conceives an idea and nurtures it, bringing to fruition her dreams. She strengthens herself with joy and vitality. She attacks her tasks with enthusiasm. Her spirit is unceasing, her force cannot be diminished. Her happiness shines for her children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and friends. Her husband praises her. Many women have done well, but she surpasses them all. Beauty may be deceptive, and words the weapon of stealth. A life of action bears its own witness to the glory of the eternal God. Praise her for her deeds, her life of valor. Praise her to the heavens. Praise her to all. And so that's what we are doing today, praising Carla for her life of valor and keeping that praise as a beacon of light at this sad moment. There are three reasons why we're here today. First of all, we're here to offer consolation and comfort and support and love to her dear Stan, who couldn't have been a better cheerleader for Carla during good times and bad times, and being her nursemaid during these last difficult times, and being here for her wonderful children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. That's one of the reasons why we're here. A second reason we're here is because Our tradition not only says that we should give nechama, not only should we offer consolation and support to those who mourn, but we should have words of hesped. We should have words of praise for the person who has died. And we've heard those words of praise, and they've entered our hearts and touched us and inspired us. And it occurs to me that we can learn a third lesson from, of all places, that pessimistic preacher of old, Kohelet, whose strange book is read at Sukkot time in our synagogues. Kohelet, the great preacher, said, Tov lalechet lebeit Babel milechet el beit mishteh. He said, surprisingly, it's better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of feasting. Why did Kohelet say that? Kohelet liked to party. He had nothing against joy. And yet he taught us that it's better to go to a house of mourning than to a house of celebration. And I think he was telling us something profound which we should take with us today as we leave this sanctuary in just a few moments. He's telling us that we should learn life lessons from one who has died. And Carla has so many lessons to teach us. To love one another unconditionally without judgment. To be devoted to others, to the community, to our spouses, to our children, to our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. Those of us who watched Carla as a grandmother learned how to be grandparents from Carla. We learned how to be parents and great-grandparents and friends from Carla. Another lesson we should learn, that we are each teachers. Carla became a professional teacher later in life. It's never too late to try to do something difficult and to accomplish it and to make a difference, not only in your immediate family and community, but to others whom you might touch through your professional life. Carla had many lessons to teach us. She stood on this bima on more than one occasion and often would quote the same verse from the book of Psalms, from Psalm 118, which is found in the Hallel. The verse she liked to quote says, Hayom asa Adonai nagila v'nismechavo. This is the day that God has made. Let us be joyful and celebrate on it. This is the day that God has made. It's difficult to be filled with simcha today. It's difficult to be filled with joy today as we bid farewell to Carla's physical being. And yet we should be joyful because she has left so much to us and so enriched our lives. And that God has granted her 80 years to bless each of us, to bless the world through her love, through her teaching, through her devotion, and through her example. And so we're grateful today to God. Zeh hayom asa Adonai, Nagila v'nismachavo. Let us celebrate our dear Carla today and every day. Amen.
And now let us rise for the Male, the memorial prayer.
El Malay Rachamim Shochen Bamromim Hamitzay Menucha Nechona תחת כנפי השכינה למעלות קדושים וטהרים כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים את נשמת אילנה עודו בת ראובן וצ'רנה שהלכה לעולמה בגן עדן תהא מנוחתה הנאה בעל הרחמים הסתיריה בסתר כנפיך לעולמים וצרור החיים את נשמתו אדוני הוא נחלתו ותנוח בשלום על משכבו ונאמר Amen.
El Malay Rachamim, O God exalted and full of compassion, grant perfect peace in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of our beloved Carla, who has gone now to her eternal home. Master of mercy, we beseech you, remember all the worthy and righteous deeds that you performed in the land of the living. May her soul be bound up in the bonds of life eternal. God is her portion. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
We'll ask the pallbearers to come forward and the family will follow as we read from the 23rd Psalm.